Hey guys, Mr. Backerberg here. In this video, we're going to look at solving multi-step equations. So when we're solving a multi-step equation, that just means that we're solving an equation that has more than one step in it. So it could be 2 steps, it could be 3 steps, it could be more than that. That might be necessary sometimes. In this equation, we've got 8x minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 20. So we're going to solve to figure out what this x value is, and then we're going to plug that x value back into our original equation to check our answer to make sure that we got it right. Now, as I'm looking at the left-hand side, the first thing I notice is that we have a couple of like terms. The 8x and the minus 3x are like terms because they both have an x variable on them. So we can combine those by doing the operation that's between them. So 8x minus 3x would leave us with 5x, but then we still have this minus 10. We haven't done anything with that yet, and this is still equal to 20. Now this is turned into a 2-step equation, and if we remember our steps for 2-step equations, the first thing we want to look for is addition or subtraction that we can get rid of. So I see this minus 10 in here. To get rid of a minus 10, we need to add 10 to both sides of our equation. Now on the left-hand side, the minus 10 and the plus 10 will cancel each other out. So we've got just the 5x on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, we need to add those together. So 20 plus 10 is going to give me 30. Now this 5x, there's nothing written between there, so that means that we have multiplication happening. And the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So to get rid of this times 5 that's attached to my x right now, I need to divide both sides by 5. So this times 5 and this divided by 5 will cancel each other out, leaving me with just a plain x variable. And then when I take 30 and divide that by 5, I should get 6 as my answer. Now what we need to do is take that 6 and plug it back into our equation up at the top for the x's to make sure that this does in fact match up. So we're taking 8 times 6 minus 3 times 6 minus 10, and all of that is supposed to equal 20. Now, if we think order of operations, we're going to need to take care of that multiplication first. So 8 times 6 is going to be 48, minus 3 times 6 is going to be 18, and then we still have minus 10, and we're still hoping this is equal to 20. Now, we've got 2 sets of subtraction happening. I'm going to do them one at a time. So 48 minus 18 is going to be 30, but then we still have the minus 10, and we're hoping that equals 20. Left-hand side, when we take 30 minus 10, that does give us 20, and now we have a matching set of numbers, 20 equals 20, so that confirms that our x value is 6. Now we're going to look at another example in here, so we're going to solve this equation, and then we're going to plug our answer back in to check it out to make sure that it does in fact work. So we've got 7x plus 2 times x plus 6 inside of those parentheses equals 39. As I'm looking at solving this one, the very first thing I'm going to do is use my distributive property to take this 2 and multiply it inside of that set of parentheses, so then I can drop the set of parentheses. So I take the 2 times the x, and that's going to give me 2x, but then I also have to take the 2 times the 6, and that's going to give me plus 12. Now I still have this 7x in the front, but now that I've done that distributive property with that 2, I no longer need to have the parentheses around that stuff. And then this is equal to 39. Now this is going to be very similar to the last problem where we've got some like terms that we can combine on the left-hand side. So if we take 7x and we add 2 more x's to that, then we're going to have 9x, still have that plus 12, and this is still equal to 39. Now I'm looking at this plus 12 in here because once we get it down to a 2-step equation, we're supposed to look for addition or subtraction that we can get rid of next. So to get rid of a plus 12, the opposite of that would be subtracting 12. But whatever I do to one side, I also have to do to the other side. Now this plus 12 and this minus 12 are going to cancel each other out. On the right-hand side, when I take 39 and subtract 12 from that, we should get 27. And then the stuff that's left over on the left-hand side, we haven't touched that 9x, so that's still over there. Now, 9x really means 9 times x. So to get rid of that times 9 happening in there, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide the left-hand side by 9 to get that 9 to cancel out. But whatever I do to one side, I also have to do to the other side. So I need to take 27 and divide it by 9 as well. Now the left-hand side is just a plain x, and the right-hand side, when I take 27 and divide it by 9, we should get 3. But now we need to check our answer. So I'm going to take that 3 that we just got and go back up to my original equation and plug that in for the x's to make sure that it does in fact equal 39. So we take 7 times 3 plus 2 times 3 plus 6, and we're hoping that's equal to 39. Now, when we do the order of operations, we're supposed to start inside of the parentheses first. So 3 plus 6 is going to give me 9. So we're going to have 7 times 3 plus 2 times 9 maybe equals 39. Now, we've got two sets of multiplying happening. 7 times 3 should give me 21, plus 2 times 9 is going to be 18. And we're hoping that when we add those together, the answer we get is going to be 39. So then 21 plus 18 does in fact give us 39. So we've got our matching set of numbers that we needed. 39 is equal to 39. So that confirms that our x value is 3. As we look at our next example here, we've got 3/4 times z minus 6 inside of the parentheses, and that equals 12. Now, having fractions in here can make things a little tricky. But if we think back to what we talked about with one-step equations, when we have a fraction times some stuff, one thing we can do to help us get rid of that fraction is multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to do a little multiplying in here, and when we're talking about the reciprocal of a fraction, that means we're going to look at the fraction we have and flip it over. So right now the fraction we have is 3/4. But if I flip that over, we're going to be multiplying by 4/3. And whatever I do to one side of my equation, I also have to do to the other side of my equation. So I'm going to multiply by 4/3 on the right-hand side as well. Now, if we look at what's happening here, we've got this 4 on top and on bottom of our fraction. So those are going to cancel each other out. We also have this 3 on top and on bottom, which are going to cancel each other out. So now the only thing we have left over on the left-hand side is that z minus 6. And because there's no longer anything being multiplied out in front of it, because we just canceled that out, we no longer need to keep the parentheses around it. So this is just going to be z minus 6 equals. Now we still need to do the multiplying on the right-hand side. So I'm going to put that 12 over 1. Now when we take 12 times 4 on the top, that's going to give me 48, and then 1 times 3 on the bottom is going to be 3. Now before we go too far in here, we can actually divide 48 by 3. So I'm not changing the left-hand side right now. That's still z minus 6. But when we do 48 and divide it by 3, we get 16 as our answer. Now we've got one more step that's going to get this z variable alone. Right now it says minus 6. So the opposite of subtracting 6 is adding 6, and whatever we do to one side of our equation, we also have to do to the other side. So the minus 6 and the plus 6 cancel each other out. So we've got z equals, and then on the right-hand side, 16 plus 6 should give me 22. Now I'm going to take that 22, and I'm going to go back up to my original equation and plug it in to make sure that it does, in fact, give us 12 like it's supposed to. So we've got 3/4 outside of the parentheses. My z value that I'm testing is 22. We have to subtract 6 from that, and we're hoping when we simplify this down, the answer we get is 12. Using the order of operations, we're supposed to start inside of the parentheses. So we're going to have 3/4 times, now 22 minus 6 is going to be 16, and we're hoping this is equal to 12. Now, to multiply this 3/4 times this 16, I'm going to put that 16 over 1. 3 times 16 is going to be 48, and this is being divided by 4, and we're hoping that equals 12. And when we take 48 and divide it by 4, we do get 12 as our answer. So there's our matching set of 12s. 12 equals 12, so that confirms that my z-value is 22. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.